Okay, our closing piece is going to be with a group of external stakeholders. And certainly, many of us in this room, and certainly the SVNs, I think, would certainly agree that the progress we've made as a company would not have been possible to date without the support, I should say, the support of many NGOs, non-government organizations, but also, too, in many of our SVNs, colleges and universities. So with that, I would like to introduce a group of panelists who are here to share their thoughts on what they've just heard, what we're doing, but also, too, as many of our NGO partners do, they continue to challenge us on how we can go faster and further with sustainability. So first, let me introduce Michelle Harvey. Michelle co-leads the Environmental Defense's on-site partnership with Walmart here in Bentonville. And the EDF partnership has been instrumental to advance certainly our areas in a number of different SVNs. Michelle's primary responsibilities include, this is a long list, chemicals, alternative energy, human environmental interactions, sustainable forestry, agricultural, and seafood, and there are a couple others on that list as well. So please help me welcome Michelle. Thank you. Also, in from Brazil, Mr. Helio Matar. Mr. Matar has also been instrumental in helping us in the country of Brazil, but certainly his work spans to the United States as well. He's a former CEO and government minister, and Mr. Matar now serves as the president of the Icatu Institute for Conscious Consumption in Brazil. Please help me welcome Mr. Matar. We also have Aisha Barenblatt. Aisha is the Director of Advisory Services for Business for Social Responsibility in San Francisco. And she is an expert in supply chain management and certainly is a person who resources we continue to use. So, Aisha, please come forward. Thank you. And also we have Dr. Jay Golden. Dr. Golden is the assistant professor in the School of Sustainability at Arizona State University. And if you were paying really close attention to Mike's message, I hope you heard his name before, because Dr. Jay is also now the co-leader of the new consortium that we're working with to provide even more information to help us power this index. So, Dr. Golden. So all of you have worked with us in some capacity in the past, and certainly you've heard a great deal from us this morning about where we're going. I think the index is a tool that we can use to broaden and accelerate our efforts in this space, but also provide a framework to guide us to really get this thing moving. So with that, I have one question, and I'd like to have each of you answer it, and then we'll open this up for questions from the audience. But my first question is, so 5 to 10 years from now, as John mentioned in his speech, when merchants, manufacturers, and consumers have much more data about the sustainability products they are buying and selling, how has the world been changed? And let's just start here and work our way down the line here. How's that?
Okay, that'll work. I'm looking at it from how the customer's going to feel about this, and I think what we're going to see first and foremost is a fundamental shift in the way we define and design consumerism. It's not just going to be the product and what it does, it's the whole global system. And with transparency, that's what you're going to start with, is a system change. I think you're going to see a real change in product choice. John Fleming talked about it, Mike talked about it, Leslie referenced it, that when you've got transparency in the system and you know where your hot spots are, you're going to have better products. And I think that's really the strength. That's what really excites me and I think many of my colleagues about this, is that we're going to focus our efforts at the right places at the right time. We're going to start with the worst hot spots, and then we're going to keep peeling that onion back. I think in turn what that really means is that all of that data that's going to be available to the customer, to the consumer, It's not going to be the sort of kinda, woulda, shoulda, is this what I buy for my family because I still don't know what to do with all that data? I think the products are going to be so much better. The transparency is going to allow us to know what and where and how. The consumer is going to be choosing between good, better, and best. And I think from that standpoint, that's when sustainability becomes just as much a part of the product line as safety is now.
All right. Thank you, Michelle. Elio, your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say I couldn't be happier being here, and I don't want to take it for granted, the fact that in less than a month, I was in Brazil for the Pact for Sustainability, which was launched by Walmart Brazil with several of our leading suppliers committing to goals, extraordinary goals actually, in reduction of deforestation, emissions, energy, waste, and packaging. And now here in Walmart, here in the United States and around the world, establishing a new beginning for the history of transparency of social and environmental information to consumers on the supplier's products. I have to say that today, 60% of the consumers, according to research in 22 countries, consider that corporations should be actively contribute to a better society to all. And 5 years or 10 years from now, the differentiation of products on the traditional attributes of quality and innovation will be even more difficult to achieve than it is today, definitely. The protection of the environment and the contribution to the well-being of employees and communities will increasingly differentiate those companies that will be able to stay alive and to prosper in the view of the consumer. I certainly welcome Walmart as a leader in inspiring suppliers to a movement in which companies will hold hands with society in building a more sustainable world for all. And from the point of view of the consumer, this is excellent news. Consumers all over the world, they've been looking for more information, and whenever they have the information, 70% all over the world, 70% of the consumer prefer products that are more sustainable when they have the information. So this is to suppose how important it is, the sustainability index that it is being launched today by Walmart. So congratulations to Walmart. Thank you.
Thank you. Aisha, welcome. I believe this is your first trip to Bentonville, correct?
Third trip back.
Third trip.
I'm a veteran here.
You're a veteran. That's great. Well, welcome back, and I'd like to know your thoughts as well.
Absolutely. My thought really is when you think about this new world that Walmart is trying to create, and this really is a new world, that essentially what you're going to create is imagine a world where consumers have information at their fingertips, whether you're clicking a product online or whether you're buying it in store, and that this information is really easy to understand. Much like a nutrition label, you're actually able to use your income as a way to decide that you're really respecting the people that make the product, and as well that you are preserving our Earth's natural resources. Another hope that I really have is that with all of this data, you actually start to have some healthy innovation as well as competition between your merchants, where as opposed to just competing on traditional product innovation, sustainability becomes a way to start to innovate. A third hope really is with this type of data that you have traceability. We've heard a lot about it this morning. But if you think about the power and the reach of Walmart's supply chain, that you start to have a cascading impact of a light shined all the way from where natural resources are extracted to products that are made, to them being shipped and distributed, all the way to them being disposed of. And that this kind of information would hopefully lead factories to become much more efficient in the way that they run their business, both in terms of saving energy costs, waste, as well as really preserving Earth's natural resources for all of our collective families and communities. And so I really look at this as a way to put a human face on how product is made, and that all of us start to become a part of the solution in a way where we're starting to restore Earth's balance. So we understand that the natural resources that we're taking out, we start to put as much back in. When we think about production, we're running the processes much more efficiently. When we think about degradation of ocean and air and land resources, that we stop that. but at the same time, we're, really sustaining our growing populations in a way that's respecting the health as well as the human well-being of the people who make the product to those who consume it. And so I really look at this as a way for supply chains to no longer be wasteful and linear, but in some ways start to become circular and balanced, where sustainability, profitability go hand in hand. So I applaud Walmart for this move today.
All right, Jay, last but not least, what are your thoughts?
Last but not least, well, as Matt alluded to, I'm co-director of the Sustainability Consortium. So depending on your point of view, I either got the short straw or the long straw to come up here. John Johnson from the University of Arkansas is the co-director with me, and in the audience today are also Dan Vermeer from Duke University, Greg Norris from Harvard University, Tony Kingsbury from UC Berkeley. My point is it's a very broad, global group of leading researchers from around the world who are really addressing this from the scientific point of view. And science is really a strong point in this. I would ask, if you remember, and it really dawned on me as Mike was starting to talk, that it brought me back to watching Neil Armstrong land on the moon. This event, from a scientific point of view, and for the consumers, has the potential to be just a seminal event. Let me explain why. Think about getting that man to the moon. We had to go ahead and energize the supply base. All the different manufacturers, all the different suppliers, from the propulsion to the metals to the seats to the suits. From there, you also had to have the science. And this index is requiring a lot of science. We need to make sure that as we address one impact, energy, we don't impact ecological services or people in community. The manufacturing base for Walmart is global. Think of the different imperatives, social imperatives, material imperatives around the world. We have to make sure that as we address one, we don't impact the other. We have to bring that all together. Throughout this whole process, the science working with the manufacturing base and with the retailers in ways to communicate and ways to make sure that we address each step down the pathway. Because this is a little longer process. We're going to have wins throughout this process. And what does it mean from a science standpoint to the consumer? Well, if I asked you right now to take your BlackBerries or your phones off and put them down, unintended consequences. Our man to the moon brought us the satellites. Man to the moon brought us new materials that we wear, that we use, and the foods that we consume. So when you ask that question down the road, hopefully we'll have the same seminal event that you can say, I was here this day, and the different unintended consequences for the better of our environment and the peoples around the world will come through the science and engineering and organizational innovations that come through this. So we're really excited as the academic researchers to be part of this and bring that to the table.
Great. Thank you very much. With that, I think we have some time for some questions. I will ask my team, sustainability team, to help with the microphones. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get over to Sam's and get here and get on the virtual side, but we're going to do our best to cover a lot of questions here in a quick place. So, folks, if we can tee up the group. Felicia, I think you're first. Yeah, if you could also please say your name and the company. And Mary, I know who you are, but please state your name and who you work for.
Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Mary Fox. I work in the US apparel team. I'd like to pose this question to Dr. Golden. One of the things that we have learned in apparel is that sustainable products and process really are driven through great innovative ideas. So what are you doing to teach the future leaders of business about innovation? Thank you.
It's a great point. I'll go back to this analogy of space. I mean, that really energized a whole new generation of folks to get involved in science, technology, engineering, and math, which is a U.S. perspective right now. We're diminishing the number of students that are going to science, technology, energy, and math. I come from a Global Institute of Sustainability. We have a school of sustainability. When you start talking about sustainability in the college perspective, typically you start a new program, you get 20 applicants for a new program, 500 new undergraduates with 2,000 expected by 2 years. They are thriving for this. The ability to bring engineering and business organizational strategies together for a purpose of being energized for a better future for themselves and their children is really driving that. From the K through 12, we all go shopping with our kids. And even as an engineer focused on sustainability, my 10-year-old daughter catches me all the time buying sometimes the wrong product. there are a lot of opportunities for them to really get involved in this. And I look at this effort here and other efforts like it, that I don't think we're going to have a problem really energizing the new generation of students. I think we're going to take that leadership role around the world with these new technologies, these green technologies. President Obama talks about green technologies. This is green technologies right here.
Thank you. Candace, do you have?
Sure, we have one here.
Yeah, my name's Ken Lanchi. I'm with the Ethical Standards and Sustainability team within Global Procurement, and I'm based in Shenzhen. And I have a question for Aisha. We've spent a lot of time over the last 6 months working very closely with BSR in the area of sustainability. And over that relationship, we've been able to launch then an energy efficiency program in about 90 factories out in China. And then we've also spent some time in the BSR working with your company, an organization on mills in the working group. So with that, you spent a lot of time working with Walmart in a very close relationship. So I have two questions. One which would say, what would be maybe a key learning that BSR has gained working in that type of a relationship with Walmart? And the second thing would be, as you look at Walmart and you look at our scale and our global reach, how do we position ourselves and take advantage of that to be able to help move this sustainability effort forward? Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ken. So the two of the programs that you mentioned, they're obviously very bold goals. The first one, we've already undertaken this work in 90 factories in partnership with Walmart to roll out an energy efficiency program. The goal is to do this in 200 factories with improving energy efficiency by 20% in 2012. The second is really looking upstream to a group of suppliers that are both mills and sundries that have never really had very much engagement, and really get them to be a part of a sustainability solution. And what's interesting about both programs is there's a couple of key learnings. The first is really about inspiring people to find their own solutions. It sounds very simple, but if you think about it, the energy efficiency program, for example, is a voluntary program. Suppliers are able to select into this, and what BSR and Walmart has done in Shenzhen is work with them to give them the right guidance, the right tools, the right resources in order to really implement this program, starting from an energy assessment to linking up with the right provider companies to actually looking at the data and understanding that improvements are happening over time. So what's been really key is that you set up the right incentives, you set up the right tools, but that suppliers, this is really about their own capability building and really inspiring them to be a part of the solution. I think the second thing that has been really important, especially when we talk about moving some of this work into emerging countries, is to really do this work with using Walmart's global reach, but at the same time understanding the local constructs and constraints. So in China, for example, it's still a very nascent market in terms of having the right incentive structures to invest in energy efficiency. And so, very frankly, having Walmart stand up and say that the suppliers that participate in this program will be our strategic suppliers helps to set up the right incentives for them to really participate in this program. And I would say the third thing that's been really key, and I hope is something that there are lessons to be learned with today's exciting announcement, is around convergence. So I pick on mills and sundries, for example. Walmart was a pioneer retailer at the table. 2 years ago when we started this work, there were just 4 retailers in the mix. Today we have 14 retailers and brands in the mix, as well as suppliers from China, India, Pakistan, and beyond, really coming together to create the right standards and the right solutions. And so if I think about the sustainability index and sort of lessons learned from both of these, what it has been really key, frankly, is Walmart's name, the scale and impact of bringing the suppliers to the table, of really creating the right value proposition, but also to start to create convergence when it comes to industry standards, so that not every retailer, not every brand is going at this every different way, because the issues are complex enough that what we need is really standardization. So hopefully that answers your question, Ken.
Great. Thank you. I think we've got time for one more question. Felicia, we got one over here? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So today there is I'm Jessie Tolkien from the Energy Action Coalition, which is a coalition of 54 organizations across the United States and Canada representing young people working on climate and energy policy. And so there's an entire generation of young Americans that really link their values and commitment to a clean energy and a sustainable future with their consumer choices. And we know that this generation turns to online sources to make decisions, to get information. How do we think that we're going to be able to use social media and technology to connect this new consumer base with a better understanding of sustainable products?
Yeah, I'm going to save this panel. Francis, Roland, you want to comment on that one? I'll get you a mic. Michelle, I'm looking at you in the front row, so.
Thanks, Matt. First of all, I would tell you, Walmart has a unique history of leveraging our technology and innovation for our customers. Secondly, I would tell you that our technology is not something that we're just going to think about here at Walmart, but we've got strategic partners around the world that's going to help us do this. And I think that leverage point is going to be a significant opportunity for us as we go forward. The other point about the social media, we'll be connected. I mean, you heard Leslie and I think Mike make reference to whether it's Twitter or blogging or whatever that is. We will stay connected, guarantee you, to our customers and our members across the world. So our commitment from a technology perspective is certainly there for this initiative. And I would tell you, it's at the foundation that's going to enable a lot of the things that we're talking about this morning.
Great. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, panelists. And I hope for those of you who have not worked with NGOs or now our new consortium or academics in the past, you can see the tremendous value that a group like this brings to your business, but certainly, to a company like Walmart. So I just want to say thank you again for your time, your participation, and thank you for being here. Thank you.